Hey guys, everything Subaru here. I wanted to make a quick video, my thoughts on the Cobb accessport for the Subaru STI 2017. I've had it for about 4 months now, and it's been okay. There's some things that I think are good about it. There's some things that I think are bad. I want to kind of go over a few things. So just to show you, there's a ton of videos to show you how to install this, so I'm not gonna bother. The only thing I'm gonna touch on with the installation is, because it's not shown super well, when you go to install this, you're going to see a lot of things happening on the gauge cluster. The C-diff in particular is going to say locked, and it's going to start flashing. That's totally fine. It made me a little nervous at first, but that's totally normal to see. And then the only other thing that I want to touch on is when it said turn the car off for the 15 seconds and then turn it back on. When you go to turn it back on, this resets the fuel system, so you have to prime it again. So when you turn it back on, you're going to hear the car making the sound like it wants to turn over, but it doesn't for a few seconds. That's totally normal as well. I kind of got a little nervous with that too. So you're gonna have to turn the key and leave it for 3 or 4 seconds, and then the car will start, and then after that, every other time from there, it will start like normal. The things that I monitor: the intake temp, I'm using the dynamic advanced multiplier, the find knock learn, the air fuel sensor, the feedback knock, and the coolant temp. Those are the things that I choose to monitor. There's a ton of videos on the 3 things that you should: obviously the DAM, the feedback knock, and the find knock learn. I am in Illinois, so we have 93 octane. However, after speaking to some tuners and speaking to Cobb, I am running the 91 octane stage 1 plus map with the normal wastegate. I was running the 93 octane, but the fuel here, I don't know if it was the gas stations I was going to or not, but I was getting a little bit of the find knock learn, the feedback knock were like 2.8. I mean, which is still fine, but it wasn't the greatest. I wasn't really happy with that. So after speaking with Cobb, I switched to the 91 octane map, and I still use the 93 fuel, and I barely get negative 1.4 now. Every once in a while I'll get it, and the feedback knock obviously will get kicked on with the AC when that kicks on, but other than that, I don't get the numbers much higher than 1.41 anymore. So the 91 octane normal wastegate has been on here for about 2 months now, and I see no problems with it. Eventually I'll probably get an e-tune or a dyno tune, but just for the time being now, it's just for the money. It's the winter time is coming up. I just drive this car normal anyways. I don't really drive this car that crazy. This is a daily driver for me, so I don't think it's worth the $600 or $700 a dyno tune it, or the $200 or $300 right now for an e-tune. When everything's running fine. I mean, you get more horsepower gains out of that, obviously, but these things work different with every car, obviously. With mine, it seems to be working fine now that I switched to that lower map, so I'm just gonna go with it for now and keep it the way it is. Going back to the feedback knock and the find knock learn, these things kind of, depending on the weather conditions, they just, every once in a while you're gonna get that. And there's been times where it's been raining, and there's videos showing this of people driving in the rain. My feedback knock will go up to like 7, and it'll just out of nowhere. And supposedly the sensor, is right behind the intercooler, so if rain or drops of water get onto that, it throws the number up high. I could never replicate it to show anybody, but it does it so fast to where you can't even see it. And then if you reset the gauges, it usually only happens once, and I've only had that ever happen in the rain. The DAM has never gone down lower than 1. So I think that's the main thing. I mean, obviously the other 2 are important, but I think the DAM is the most important thing. As long as that's at 1, I wouldn't, be too crazy about, about worrying. I mean, there's a code for everything. I've also found that out. So there's an engine code for everything. So all 4 cylinders have their own code. So if something's really wrong, you're gonna throw a code most likely. Anyways, and if a cylinder's misfiring, it's gonna, based on the code it shows, it's gonna tell you which cylinder exactly is misfiring. So overall, though, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I was never intending to do that much to this car. I just have the exhaust and the Cobb SF intake. sound in both. You get the better turbo sound, you get the better exhaust sound. I've never really, this is a daily driver for me. It's got fairly low miles on it. It only has 12,000 miles on it. I'm not trying to, bring this to some crazy level. So for me, and for people that just want minor modifications, I think the OTS tune, if it works for your car, I think it's fine. And that's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. Obviously an e-tune is better and other things, but it just depends on how you're driving the car. I drive the car daily. I have a take-home car for work, so I don't really drive the car very much. When I drive it, it's daily driving. It's not anything like, I'm not going crazy on the throttle or anything. So I just wanted to be able to get the upgraded the intake and the exhaust and not have to worry about not having the tune. So for the price, I think you can't beat it. And this also diagnoses codes, check engine lights and things like that. So it's definitely a nice tool. The only thing I noticed, the only gripe that I have with this is, and I don't know if anybody else out there has it, if you do, you can comment. Sometimes, so there's a setting, and I'm gonna do it right now so you can see it. So I'm gonna turn the car off, and there's a setting that this will turn off by itself. So there's a setting that'll come on and say the vehicle's not, so it says it's trying to connect, and then it'll say right there, the access port has detected the power shut off, and it will turn off. Now, sometimes, and I've had this happen multiple times, if I click the unlock twice and I go to open up a passenger door, not having the engine on, but open up a passenger door, this will turn on, which is extremely annoying because then it confuses itself and the gears keep spinning and it thinks it's trying to connect. I was under the impression it was only supposed to turn on when the engine turns on. There's been times where, like I said, I've opened up, the passenger door instead of the driver's door. The Subaru logo will come up on the dash here, and then this will start to turn on when I'm just trying to go in real quick to the car to grab something and then lock it. And then I have to walk back over to the other side and make sure it's not spinning, because there was a time where the gears just kept spinning, and I don't know how long I was doing it for, an hour, 2 hours, I don't know. And then I just reset, I turned it off and turned it back on. I've had to do that a handful of times since I bought this. That's really the only issue, and it is updated to the most firmware, so I don't know if anybody has any input on that. That's really the only thing that I kind of am not really digging with this thing, is that sometimes when you don't want it to turn on, it'll just turn on. And I was under the impression the engine had to be turned on for this to turn on, but obviously there's power to the car, there's going to be power to this, so maybe that's just a normal thing. Other than that, I'm fairly happy with it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to do a review video while I drive. I'm going to place a camera so that you can see it while I drive, and I'm going to end up doing a review video. But if you have any questions, just put it in the comments and let me know. All right.